So let's talk about Kong Skull Island right now, right? So overall, people probably wondering, is Kong Skull Island good? Is it bad? Does it deserve to be named, a Kong movie? Is King Kong coming back to his throne? Or will that dude just get completely squashed by Godzilla by the time they go toe to fucking toe? Here's the thing about Kong Skull Island, really going to just kind of depend on your preference, but overall I think Kong Skull Island is a pretty entertaining enough film. Not necessarily from start to finish, but I think it does its job on what it's trying to deliver for the most part. Kong Skull Island pretty much comes across as like when you're a kid and you're playing with toys and you just kind of want to have the big robot toy or just a big monster toy or whatever, maybe even a King Kong toy or whatever, maybe even Godzilla, and you just like smashing up Lego blocks, and that's kind of fun for a little bit, that's actually kind of fun to do destruction. But eventually, as you kind of slightly get older, maybe probably the age of maybe like 6 or 7, you start to get some more characters in. Maybe start to get a G.I. Joe, maybe even a Barbie doll, some cars, and start to add a little bit of character development in it, because just smashing shit with Legos with a big monster tends to kind of get a little bit boring, even though it still is a little bit entertaining to do. That's pretty much Kong Skull Island. It's pretty much like a retard with a block of Legos, pretty much just smashing the shit up with a big giant robot. Sorry about the retard comment, but it is what it is. Here's the thing about Kong Skull Island. Overall, if you're expecting a big monster movie, which is the director pretty much already stated that it's pretty much a basic monster film, and that's it. Carnage, characters, more carnage. And that's the thing about Kong Skull Island. I think it actually does a good enough job at being a Kong movie where he pretty much goes completely apeshit, and that's pretty much what you get. And that's kind of cool to see, and that's badass. I love seeing Kong being, going completely mad with the strong, Apocalypse Now vibes going, snorted up the ass, because that's actually kind of cool. But at the same time, I feel like there's something very much missing inside of this movie, and that's kind of the basic next problem just to begin with. Overall, I think the most interesting character inside of this entire film is a character that's not even really essentially real, which is pretty much Kong. He's the one that has probably the most emotion, and overall probably the one where you kind of actually feel for in some way, for the most part. The next problem is, simply put, the characters. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with this movie, but I did not give a fuck about any of these people other than maybe Sam Jackson and maybe John C. Reilly for the most part. And that's not because I actually liked the guy, but that's mainly because I only cared for him because I really cared if somebody actually would have killed this dude. That's the only thing I would have actually cared for, if somebody actually killed him. That's about the only thing. Other than that, you have Tom Hiddleston trying to be an action star now. Oh, Tom Hiddleston trying to be an action star. It's not working. I mean, Loki better go to Asgard and reclaim that throne, because the action hero throne, it's not really working out for him. Look, I get it, women start to get wet by the night manager, but it just doesn't really work for me. The guy comes across as just off. I'm not talking Matt Damon, Great Wall off, but he's pretty much off. And I don't know if it's him or whatever, or the direction or something, but there's something about this movie that just seems completely lopsided. Something's not really right with the narrative. It's kind of like sometimes all over the place, and that's just to begin with. Now, you got Brie Larson, Oscar winner Brie Larson. Whoa, that's pretty good. What is her first role probably after the Oscar? I'm assuming it's this, but it's not very good either. Her character's just kind of there. And I feel like that's the problem with a lot of these human characters. They're essentially hollow. They're expendable. And you have the red shirt syndrome to the point where I feel like nobody's really getting anything at all. And everybody just seems like they're very much expendable. From Corey Hawkins to, John Ortiz. And I don't mean expendable necessarily by killing. I'm not spoiling anything. But I mean just overall, they don't do anything. They're just there. They're bodies. Whether they drop or not, that's going to be up to you when you actually see the film. But overall, I just felt like you don't really feel anything for these people. Sam Jackson is fun to watch because he ain't going to get a bad Sam Jackson performance. John Goodman's a veteran. The guy's good also. John C. Reilly, as I said already before, that's great and that's cool. But everybody else is just kind of essentially pointless. And you're probably wondering, well, I go to a King Kong movie to fucking see Kong smashing shit. And great. Like I said, you're going to get that if you want that. And that's all cool and that's great. But at a point, you also got to realize you're spending more time with these fucking people than you are for Kong. And that's the big problem. It's just that none of them are actually interesting to fucking deal with. And that's the big problem because they kind of carry most of the movie to begin with, as I said before. But overall, I think the problem is that some people knack on the Transformer movies. Some people knack on Godzilla or whatever, the 2014 one about the characters or whatever, and it's about the monster. But without the characters, you essentially would just get destruction for about 2 hours, and that's kind of fun for a time. And then eventually you need something to kind of ground it, so to speak, with interesting characters. And unfortunately, even though these characters are there, you also do need these characters to serve a purpose, and I feel like Kong Skull Island doesn't really do that. Overall, like I said, this movie is visually stunning. I love the Vietnam setting. I think they take advantage of it well. Sometimes, it's just like, they're using that vibe, for the 70s apocalypse, not 70s, the Nam era, whatever it may be. That was a fuck up on my behalf, whatever. But overall, like I said, Kong Skull Island is an entertaining enough film, which just had kind of like bad narrative direction sometimes. And Kong, I feel like, my problem was I feel like they should have kept him a little bit of a mystery a bit more. That's just my thought, and I feel like some things just don't really go the right way, personally, just to begin with. But overall, it's a fun and entertaining movie. People probably wondering, well, is it better than the 2005, Peter Jackson one? Is it better than the original? I don't think it's better than the original, and I can't really say if it's better than, and that's not nostalgia, because, come on, what, it came in 1933, how old do you think I am? It's not nostalgia. But I would say this, is it better than, the 2005 one? I can't really say that either, per se, but I will say this. It is much more better paced. But sometimes when a movie is much more better paced and it's fast and the time just flies by, sometimes things fly by. And a lot of things don't make that much sense, and some things really aren't that well explained, at least maybe to my advantage. Maybe I kind of dulled off a little bit. But overall, it's fun and entertaining for a bit of a time, but sometimes when you actually do have some of these moments with characters, you don't really care because they don't really give anything to really give them, per se. Sam Jackson has said it's fun, but that's pretty much it. You got Vietnam being, fucking injected up the ass crack, and then you got Kong going apeshit on fucking people, or people or monsters, whatever you want to call it. And that's cool. Like I said, that is great to see, and it is a spectacle to be. But at the end of the day, sometimes you want something a little bit more in it, for the most part. Peter Jackson's movie had characters. Not all of them are overly interesting. And yes, this movie does try to do its own thing for the most part. But at the same time, there are some things that I feel like they could have taken from, the other previous versions of Kong, particularly maybe some more interesting characters. But overall, that's just my thought, and that's just my opinion. If you actually enjoyed this review, you can comment, subscribe, and like that shit. That can actually be cool. Share the shit, because that could be even cooler. But I'm Chris Smith, and once again, I'm signing out. All right, I'm bored.